This is where the miracle, if you will, takes place. The transformation of Michael T. God, I've been wanting to paint my face since I was like 12 years old. Ever since I started to see Bowie on television and buy his albums. I'm sure under this very deliberate close-up, you can see more flaws than I'd like you to see, but I'd like to think that I have a, once it's done, a clean, finish look, a little bit on the elegant side. I consider myself an attractive hermit of sorts. I like waking up and knowing that I'm not going to see some person that I saw a few hours ago at a nightclub or that I just had sex in the bathroom with or whatever. I've also kind of created a character that people are a bit intimidated by. Maybe it's the usual, you know, same old cliche of not wanting to take the shit that you took when you were a kid. I mean, I know that I can do things when I'm made up that I certainly cannot do when I'm not made up.
Like what?
Oh, like pick up a lot of so-called straight guys. When you really kind of become other, you know, you sort of, it's like a snake. You lose one skin and, you know, you have a shiny new one. What you see in pictures and all of that, when you create something that's kind of over the top and fantasy-like, I think people just assume that that's who and what you are. So, how long have you been filming, Mr. Casey? So you weren't aware that you were voyeuristic until you were 16? This is pretty. Paris is burning now. And if you aim your arrow real high, hooray for you.
Motherfuckers! 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 Motherfuckers!
My name's Johnny T, and I'm one of the producers of Motherfucker.
I'm Georgie Seville from Motherfucker. A Motherfucker.
I'm Justine D. From New York City.
I'm Michael T. I'm the producer, founder, and DJ of Motherfucker.
Michael and I have been knowing each other for a while. And back in like '99, Justine and I were doing a party every Wednesday night at this club called Life.
Georgie and I have we have more of a friendship because I've known him for so long. We started doing parties together when I was like 22 years old.
I party every night, you know. I'm at a party every night. I'm going to bars, or I'm throwing an event, or, you know.
Music has always been a part of my life, so I knew since at a very young age that I wanted to be involved in entertainment in some way, shape, or form.
The idea was Justine had a certain crowd that she could bring. I had a certain crowd that was different from Justine's. Johnny had a certain crowd, and Michael T had a crowd. But they all kind of worked well together.
I think that conceptually, all four people are of equal force. However, as the party has grown, you know, and evolved, certain people take on more artistic functions.
I get along with everybody, but it's a family, so like a family, you know, you love them and you hate them, but...
I remember them coming in for their meeting with the Empress.
Oh, I know. They said they wanted to do this kind of rock-based big party, but they didn't have a name for it. And coincidentally, my friend Clark Render from the Dueling Bankheads had told me maybe a year before that If you ever do a rock party at Mother, I have a great name for it, Motherfucker.
Never been a motherfucker before, make some noise. Never been. I've got a lot of work to do then tonight. I have a lot of people's virginity to take, but I am so excited, you guys. All right, this is the biggest party in the entire city, in the entire country, in the whole motherfucking world. Ladies and gentlemen, to the motherfucker stage from DSA Records. Please welcome, the one, McLean.
That gives me hope is when I go to a party like Motherfucker and I see 2,000 kids in there. They have no idea what went on before. They're just having fun, and they're really having fun. And they're coming up with outfits, crazy, doing shows all over the dance floor, and they have no idea that there's been generations before them doing the same shows, wearing the same outfits. They have no idea. They think that they're inventing it for the first time, and that's great. It's not new yet, but it will be.
Especially over the past few years, Motherfucker has been, at least in my experience, one of the very, very few parties that enable people to really let go and not only listen to music and maybe get involved in a few party favors, if you know what I mean, but dress up and kind of become somebody completely different. You know, somebody different than who they would be if they were just out with their friends on a normal Friday night at some, mundane New York City club.
It just gets bigger and bigger. I mean, the clubs get bigger, and Do you think you'll blow up? I mean, do you think you'll... Been going for 5 years. I mean, if they stop it, it's gonna be their call. It won't be because there's a lack of interest. It's a fun party. I mean, it's genius. It happens 8 times a year. It's always in a new place. And they keep their, they bring in the people that are in the now. I think it's cool.
I go out to dance. Before the drugs, before the girls, before the drinking and all, it's all about the dancing. I dress for myself. I just go out for myself, actually. I don't go out for any other reason, but besides to dance, and that's what I like.
I wanted to look like Maxine from those old Hallmark shoebox cards, that old fucking Jew woman with the Jew fro. I love it. Oh my God, just like sitting in Palmetto eating egg salad, on the lanai. It's gorgeous.
What would Maxine say about that?
She'd probably be too busy, doing rails in the bathroom to really care. As long as there was a Latino with 20 bags, she'd be happy.
Without any hesitation, I'll say that Motherfucker is the best party in New York City.
You got 20 bucks?
Anybody got 20 bucks?
I'm good for it.
Yeah.
I'm good for it.
Yeah.
Or a clean needle.
I'm really drunk. I'm sorry if I suck.
That's okay.
Well, with Motherfucker, I feel it's very androgynous. It's very open to who people are, and they can express themselves no matter what. It's not gay or straight, it's more people, human, which is more important.
I think that people are searching for an escape, as they always are. I think that New York will get possibly more decadent and more subculture, but you won't hear about it. Ordinary people won't be able to get into the parties. It'll all be these rich motherfuckers.
What's happening in New York is what's happening everywhere. I mean, New York is the center of most things, especially in the United States as far as fashion and nightlife and things. A friend of mine always says that we're like the 50s now. We're in a very neoconservative era, and so we're kind of waiting for things to turn into like the new 60s. We're all just doing our thing and waiting for things to explode. There's plenty of people thirsty to do things that are creative and real and beautiful and expressive and new and fuck you and all that shit. There are young people born all the time, so there's going to be something new happening.
And I think this party does that. I think it's definitely out of the box. Just being who you are from within, and people dress up and want to come to a party where they can be who they are. It's amazing, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm very grateful for that.
Jesse Mellon and I opened up.
Johnny is a very shrewd businessman, and he's very good to have on your side. When he's on your side, it's great. When he's not on your side, he can kind of work against you, but he's never really worked against Motherfucker.
He's such an entrepreneur. He gets so much shit done. He just has so many things going on at one time. He owns like 3 clubs as it is now. He's thinking of opening a 4th. He has a wife and a child and another child on the way, and he juggles it all effortlessly. And I'm amazed by it.
Johnny and I, it's interesting. He, I guess, would be the closest to a sort of pseudo-father figure, but not quite. Not like a father, more like an uncle. Like a cool uncle who
On a work level.
does a lot of good stuff, but sometimes screws up.
I don't really like the way that Johnny deals with certain matters, and I don't like the way that he deals with me. I think in the past, Johnny can be a real asshole.
About 6 months ago, on the cover of the Post, it's him, like the subway flasher. The guy, the guy who did our record. yeah, it was like, I was like, oh my God. I mean, he's a little weird, but everybody I know is a little weird. I didn't really think much about it. What's up? Wow, that was him, the guy in the orange shirt.
You're kidding.
No, I'm not. No, it's him. 2004, I recorded Rock and Roll with Ryan Adams, the Ryan Adams record Rock and Roll, and I continue to play with him. We're going to be in the studio this week.
Now I actually answer an email. People are like, I sent you an email last month. I'm like, you sent me an email? I'm like, why did you do that? You have my phone number, right? Yeah. I don't check email. But now I do. Good. Quality of life on Avenue B. I get all the frequent updates about how terrible the police are and how much they persecute bar owners.
If you're a bar owner in New York, I wouldn't wish this reality on the worst person I know because it's so difficult.
I'm Jesse Mallon and we're at St. Mark's Place in New York, Coney Island High's graveyard. Now it's Coney Island High Rise. You can see they built up on it a few million levels. It wasn't as high when we were here. It's just Coney Island High. We got Chipotle and Supercuts. You know, you want to get the cut, and we got a Subway if you need to feel at home, away from home.
The city acts in a conflicted way. You can walk down Broadway and see these huge signs about NYC nightlife, and then at the same time they're doing things to prevent nightlife from actually growing. Things like the smoking ban or the cabaret law prevent nightlife from growing.
Coney got closed because of dancing. Giuliani was in power and he was enforcing all these fucked up laws, these blue laws that hadn't been enforced since the turn of the century, you know, like jaywalking, or, you know, you used to be able to walk around New York with a beer and it could be in a brown bag and you'd be okay, but they were busting people for that. And then dancing, they started to come in. It was like Footloose, but worse. They'd come in on a Saturday night with every department. They'd come in with you know, the fire department, the ambulance, consumer affairs, the police, and scare everybody out and try to find people dancing. And they kept hitting us with these fines, and we had to get lawyers, and we couldn't pay the rent.
What has happened over and over in New York nightlife is a bar like Mother would open in the meatpacking district where it was trannies and hookers and, you know, drugs and, you know, nobody around. And then the meatpackers actually there. And they would open a bar, and that bar would draw people there, you know, for reasons other than, you know, crime, criminal activities or meat, and that area would become popular and known to other residents, and then people would start to move over there or go over there, and then that area got built up.
When we tried to get a cabaret license for this place, because you need a cabaret license in New York, they said, you know, we're like, we'll pay whatever. We want to keep it going because dancing is how you make your money. People see a band and they leave after, but dancing, they stay all night and they, you know, might get lucky and drunk. So it was kind of a weird thing. We said, all right, can we be zoned, you know, we'll get a cabaret license. They said, well, you're not zoned for it because you're zoned residential. Meanwhile, Pyramid and all these other clubs did. So St. Mark's, this is zoned residential, even though we're like in an outdoor, you know, mall here. So what are you doing? It's just become that kind of thing. So we couldn't even get one. It's like a catch-22, and we couldn't have people dancing and tell them not to dance. This is a human emotion, like laughing, right? I don't know. So then I found out what dancing was. And it was 2 or more people moving in an organized fashion. So it could be a couple people just playing patty cake, and they could say that was dancing. And so I went to court a lot, and I won the last case, actually. But we had already been in so deep with the club that we lost the club. So I, you know, won one battle, lost the war.
This is a very unfortunate time for the creativity and the rock scene and the arts, because here we are, when this movie will come out, when it comes out next year, we will have lost so many great venues for performance, that these stages that cultivate new artists, such as CBGB's, you know, the Roxy's closing, as you know, and Apollo's closing, and, you know, so many more. They're talking about moving Madison Square Garden. And so it's such a, I think this year is such an important year for people to really shake up and wake up and be like, yo, if we stop supporting the arts and the rock scene and these bands, then what's New York going to become? It's going to become little businessmen in Texas saying, I moved to New York, it's the place to go.
You know, people could feel sad. I'm not against CBGB's closing. Obviously, I love CBGB's. Hey, I wasn't against the 2nd Avenue Deli closing either. That goes back before CBGB's. That goes back to the Yiddish Theater. I didn't want that place closed. Change happens.
Every so often, the police chiefs switch in the precincts. They rotate them around. And whenever they get there, one of the easiest things to do is to say, quality of life. I am enforcing your quality of life. You go to the community board meetings and you hear the neighbors that have the time to go there and complain about the nightclubs. And meanwhile, you know, nightclub owners are up until 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and they're not necessarily partying, and they're up because they have to close out their money and they have to run their business and they have to make sure everything is done just like any other retail business. And when you have a community board meeting at the crack of dawn, 9 in the morning or 8 in the morning, which many of them are, the people that are going to be able to make it are residents and not nightlife owners.
People think it's theirs. It's not yours. Everybody's just passing through. Everybody's just borrowing it. It was my father, you know, saw Jack Dempsey fight in this town and saw Sinatra play. You know, it was his too. And then one day, he didn't feel like it was his anymore.
So the hits, like the other one will be the hits. Do you know what I mean? Or,
Didn't I just do that? Did I just not do it well?
It's just a different rhythm. You're like, it's when you do it on the other songs, it's rad. I heard it just in a different rhythm pattern.
What did you just do?
I don't know. Let's do the next one.
Well, I want to hear the difference. Ben Franklin, he said, I don't care if I get the credit as long as what I want to happen happens. He had ideas in his mind, and he knew that it was better for the good of man to get the ideas out there than to get credit for being the guy who did it, you know? You have to have a higher standard, even if you don't visit it that often.
Fucking song that's 1:15. This sucks. I suck! I can't even show up unless I'm on fucking ecstasy, and fuck that up and go, Barney's got a moving company, eyeball AIDS, steak problems. The fuck does that mean? Laser ghetto? Okay, I'm sorry.
Joy is totally underrated, and sometimes you got to realize like your joy is just in like what you're doing, whatever that is, holding your kid or playing the drums or having a beer. I have a pretty great life. I love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, really fast, just listen up. General admission, that includes nothing, or if you have an invite, a printout, all that stuff. That's this line closer to the building. This line here is guest list only. If you're on the guest list, you can come all the way up to here. If you're a ticket holder, or you have will call tickets, you're in the line on that side of the door. It's a totally separate line.
My name is Thomas Honorato. I'm now almost 29 years old. I am the door person and former publicist for Motherfucker. Motherfucker has a certain amount of exclusivity for being such a large party. You know, Motherfucker, one of the things I've always really liked about them was the fact that they gave me the opportunity to do my job as a door person the way I thought it should be done. Obviously, people think from the outside looking in, it's a total asshole move. You're totally being exclusive. You're judging people. You're ostracizing them. You think you're cooler than they are. Okay, there you go. There's that. Then here's my point of view on it. See, my whole point of view of parties having exclusivity, and with Motherfucker, it's very simple. As we always say, and as I've been quoted in many magazines, we don't care what your look is, just work one.
I'm fine. It's my gay Eskimo look. My gay hipster Eskimo look.
Whether girls just put together like a cute little outfit to go out, boys, you know, put on a cool rock and roll shirt and a pair of sneakers, you know, whatever it's gonna be, to like goth to punk to fashionista to whatever, you know, it's like, it's a party, and Motherfucker doesn't happen that often, so it's really like a special event. And when you're going to something special, you should dress up to make it special. And then everyone doing that together and putting these looks together and making it special makes the energy in that room go like that.
Make no sound.
qualche svetta mi
How do you see like a party like Motherfucker fitting into sort of the lineage of like New York, you know, New York nightlife, like stuff that was going on in the 70s and the 80s?
Well, I hope it's not just like a reflection of it and it's just a continuation of it, because everything should be you know, an evolution, you know, because we can't just really do, you know, become mods. I mean, yeah, you could, but you know, it's really got to be in your soul that you really, you know, like those ones that never change, and they have to live that part for the rest of their lives, you know, the ones that are really serious about stuff. And I think, you know, what we did back then and what we're still doing today will never change, because it's still a continuation of it, is you know, maybe what we did kind of laid the groundworks for you know, the Motherfucker show now.
Are there boys in the house? Yes, there are, ladies and gentlemen. They're coming to the stage. Give it up for the New York
What's the effect of the New York nightlife in the last 25, 30 years? Well, if you want to call it watered down, I'll call it sterilized, I'll call it neutered, I'll call it discified, I'll call it everything but unpredictable, which is what I liked. I liked going into rock and roll clubs when I was 16 and meeting people who were working on underground films, who were publishing poetry that maybe 9 people would read, who were, you know, managing bands, taking photographs. I mean, the other day I interviewed Bob Gruen, who's been at it, you know, 10 years longer than I have, and his great joy in the 1970s was filming the New York Dolls and then having a party back at his house at 2 in the morning and showing the band and all their friends the concert they just played 4 hours ago.
Most performers back then had never seen themselves on stage because this kind of technology didn't really exist. outside of a giant TV studio where you were doing a made-for-TV show. But the idea of being in a club and doing a performance and then immediately seeing it afterwards was a brand new idea.
You contrast that to a place where most people's idea of making the scene is just to disco dance all night and snort a bunch of coke or do a bunch of ecstasy and dance all night and never really take part in any culture beyond looking for, you know, the latest score or the latest sex partner. I mean, that all has its place, but to me, if that's the be-all and end-all, you've got nothing. Fucking nothing.
Well, I don't see Motherfucker fitting into the New York nightlife scene, especially because at the time that it first started, we were pretty much bored out of our minds because everything was so, what's the word, organized. And there didn't seem to be any sort of, you know, spontaneity and chaos left in the New York nightlife scene. And I guess, you know, money has a way of sort of sterilizing everything.
For me, you know, when I started out clubbing, that's what New York parties were. You just found a party and you just went, and it was illegal half the time, but that's what New York was. There was an ounce of danger when you went out. It wasn't safe.
Well, I think like years ago it was more a free-for-all. Like now, like there's like you would see crazy things. Like you would see people have sex like at the bar, and you would see people just like doing drugs like all over the place, and nobody really stopped you. Now there's like a lot of security guards.
People used to sort of creep and crawl through New York nightlife, and it seemed like everyone had stopped creeping and crawling, and it just became very organized. Maybe people were marching through nightlife, you know.
It was a time that was embraced androgyny. I don't know if that'll ever really happen to the extent that it did again. We're definitely we're definitely a breed from that time. The people who grew up in that time are definitely a breed.
And you didn't know what you were going to find, and there was no sense of uniform. Everybody was different.
And I'm all about recreating new. I'm all about the new kids. I'm always seeing what they can do. I'm not going to be around forever. We're just human beings. We die.
There's always new generations that come through the city. Everybody wants to be in New York City. And whether they come through from like the UK or overseas or whatnot, or the West Coast, there's always going to be a whole new generation. And it's like, God bless them. And I'm for them. And it's like, keep it going. Keep the spirit alive.
All of one thing is boring. That's why Motherfucker kind of appealed to me. It's for the freaks, but the visual freaks are really in the minority if you look around the Motherfucker crowd. There are button-down people, there are people from the suburbs, there are people who don't look that freaky, they're just freaky inside. And that's a true melting pot thing that represents the best of what New York has always been.
When you're 20, everything's great. It doesn't matter, you don't see any of this stuff, you know? But it's like the people who are in their like mid to late 20s that have been around a while, like that are still like, yeah, it's great. Like those people I'm kind of suspicious of. I'm like, yeah, really? Is it really? Did we do a lot of drugs over the last year? Because really, is it that great?
Well, yeah, there's so much more information now. It's like everybody's famous, and nobody's mind has that much ability to keep track of all the people on MySpace who are famous for a moment, you know. And the fact is that nowadays everybody's famous. So maybe nobody's famous, because maybe famous is just like waking up and having breakfast.
15 minutes of fame is over. Now it's everyone's famous for 15 people. And it's so true, because like all my friends and all the kids I know, all those like, you know, awful, hip, self-consumed, evil kids, they're all like, you know, they like give themselves one name pseudonyms and worship each other and like take pictures of each other, and it's like, that's fun and that's really necessary for like being a teenager in New York. I think it's stupid, but and if they have any outlet for that that's not online, like it's a godsend. You know what I mean?
In the past, you had to actually do something to be famous, not just like have pictures of yourself and you know, half your body naked and then you're famous. You know.
That being said, Motherfucker is a party that's very close to my heart because it seems that those guys share a lot of my sensibilities in terms of what they think a party should look like.
One of the exciting things about Motherfucker is they take that sort of
70s glam rock dolls, Bowie, Lou Reed kind of energy. And without being retro or without being nostalgic, they just update it in a way that takes in the punk rock and the disco and the other traditions that have happened in New York around the same time. And that's one of the exciting things, that they take all these different decadent, seedy, polysexual New York traditions and just make them explode together.
Well, it's the same idea, I guess. You know, it's a good place for kids to come and meet each other and get something going, you know. It seems to me like there was, you know, like the thing with the dolls is like it's got a very kind of positive vibe to it, you know what I mean? And post the bands that came after it, and I don't mean all of them because a lot of them were great, but a lot of bands, you know, were like kind of like factory-made kind of nihilist kind of bands, you know, like, oh, fuck it, you know, apathetic kind of, we're fucked, so fuck it kind of bands, you know. And I think it's like really important for kids to realize that, you know, that you can do something about your life and your situation and have a great life, you know what I mean? Like, I've had a great life, you know, so it's, you know, it's a good place for that.
It's a really good bullshit.
Let's do with it.
She's a very good man.
Georgie's, you know, so sweet and just a really cool guy, and is always very optimistic and tries to see the glass half full, shall we say.
Georgie is always optimistic, always very positive, which Michael and I aren't always, or especially me. I feel like Michael and I are a bit more realistic about things, and Georgie, not that he's blissfully stupid, because it's nothing like that, but he just sees positivity and I think the lighter side of things.
Georgie Seville is like the sunshine. He's like this, like, sort of, he's almost Buddha-like. I mean, not in appearance, but in sort of, he's definitely like a calming presence in meetings, a voice of reason at times.
You know, he doesn't like confrontation. He doesn't like that friction, and sadly, it's needed sometimes to kind of get your point across. And he always sort of wants to keep the peace, you know. And I guess I always want to fuel the fire.
We are now inside the Delancey on my bike. Everybody's here? Who wants to be in the motherfucker movie right now? Hi. Listen, can you call the Grand, the office, and make a reservation for the freight elevator for today? Music conference ripped me a new asshole. We were opening a huge new club in a new city during probably the busiest music conference in the country. And we have a 24-hour liquor license in our club in Miami, so we were having parties literally around the clock. Some day parties, some early evening parties, some late evening parties, some late night parties, some early morning parties. It was crazy. It was just like a marathon. It was literally like a marathon for those 5 or 6 days. And I was like on automatic pilot. I couldn't even really stop to think about it. It was just keep on going and going and going. I remember the day that there were no parties at all. I think I woke up at like 5 or 6 p.m. It was only then that I realized what hell I went through. Look at all the flyers. Isn't it funny? People spend so much money on flyers and look where they wind up. Should I open this? Sure. Does that look better or should I leave it closed? You print up 5,000 flyers and maybe 1% of them are effective. All right, wait, let me say it. Tonight was great, actually. We had She Wants Revenge headline, and they turned it out. Open, right? And they were really cool, like a cool, groovy rock and roll band, which is a rare thing. I'm vain. Yeah, I'm a motherfucker. This morning, I get a text. Georgie front page news. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And she proceeded to tell me that we made the front page of the Miami Herald. Club to drum new life into downtown. A new live music nightclub hits downtown Miami, challenging the area's history of failed music clubs, contributing to the city's vision for the area. This week is a chance for us to introduce Studio A to Miami and to the world. Although none of the events are produced by us this week, we're essentially a hall for hire, if you will. But it's still a way for people to be introduced to our club. It's good PR for us.
Here we go. This is the key to nightlife. And Georgie holds it. Yeah?
There we go. The keys to the city of New York and Miami. But I really missed New York. It really made me realize by the end of conference, like the first day that I could actually get a good night's sleep, that night when I actually slept like an actual 6 or 7 hours, I dreamt about New York and how much I woke up really missing it. As much as I love Miami, I love New York a lot more.
Perhaps we have a formula now. Like we know who to hire, how many of them to hire, but you always hire them. Like you don't for 1 second think that the party will do well without these elements. The door, you know, the people first see the door. Like they're greeted by your door people.
Here's what I do. For bigger nightclub parties, you can always tell to a point how many people they're gonna get, but then you have to kind of still gauge it. So it's not uncommon for what I call juicing the room. So in other words, for the first few hundred people, there essentially isn't a dress code. We just get some bodies in the room, warm it up, get it mixing, and then we start. Because then you can kind of watch yourself, because if you're lagging and your numbers are a little light, you know if you have to be a little looser. And then if you're expecting maybe what you are expecting, like a really busy, crazy night, like over 2,000 people, you know that you can be stricter. It depends. It's all about gauging it and kind of reading it as it goes along. And you have to be able to adapt because, you know, every nightclub, no matter how good they are, has a slow night.
So it's the door people, it's the go-go because you want colorful go-go. You want competent DJs, talented, hopefully. A large factor, sometimes it's out of our control, is the club. You can have so many pre-production meetings and the club night of will drop the ball and like dick you around, and that control is lost. I mean, you have none.
I don't know anything about
Well,
that.
somebody put that up, so let's find out who put it up, and let's turn the cameras on.
Probably Chris.
All right, well, is Chris in the office?
Yeah, come on, I'll take it now. Chris. Just turn it around.
No, go out there and wait for her.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Walk her into Alan. I gotta go to the office and deal with this other bullshit.
I said, I didn't hang it up. I don't know anything about it. So you can't hang it.
I don't see that video even if you did. What's up, man? What is up with the Roxy scrapbook, whatever? Because
I don't know. Gene was having somebody come over to take pictures.
he didn't ask us though, so we can't have him do it. He got like film crews here and stuff.
Yeah, so
That's why we have all the pre-production people.
So it's really everything you can possibly think of, from the sponsors and where their tables are set up, whether or not there are bathroom attendants who understand the concept of bathrooms being unisex. This is a huge thing for us, you know. I don't have a checklist, but I have a mental checklist. And everything has to be in place because a party should be about all of these small elements being combined to like create this fun time for 1,000 or 2,000 people.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are the 4 motherfuckers that bring motherfucker to you. And hey, give it up for them because you know what Michael T, you know what the T stands for? The last T cell left. Ladies and gentlemen, this may be the last motherfucker you will ever enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, drop those fucking balloons into our 60th anniversary!
Every motherfucker I've been to, it's a place where you come and you can live an entire life in a single night. Which overlaps with real life in certain ways, but never congruently. There was just this constant sense that if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen tonight. If some desire or plan or fantasy, a positive fantasy in your mind is going to die, it's going to die tonight. And this place is going to be the graveyard. This place is going to be the executioner's chamber. This is the place of that. And if something unexpected or an anticipation which is going to be fulfilled, if something's going to be born, this place is going to be the wedding bed, the conception, the maternity ward, the incubator. It's all going to be here as well. The goal of this, or the sort of aura of this, being connected to Capote's black and white ball, in that invocation there was this huge contradiction. In invoking the black and white ball, it invokes this idea of Capote's elitism. Now, Capote's elitism involved, the infamous guest list, which was Capote's way of overlaying his own social hierarchy atop what was considered to be an accepted existing hierarchy of elitism. And the important thing is that it didn't match. Certain people that in their own minds were larger than life weren't invited, and certain people who may never have expected to be invited were there. And so there was Capote's own pantheon, his categorization of gods, and those people who were invited were among the social gods, and those who weren't invited were relegated to the realm of demigods, or worse yet, humans. There's the flip side of this, though, which is people come to the party believing in a sense of insiderness, elitism, a sense of being the rock star. That's a falsehood, because in actuality, it's a ticket. It's a question of going to the admissions booth and shelling over $20. A few months ago at a party in New York, I think this is the first time I had ever seen this, but they were a categorization of VIP badges. There were at least 3, maybe 4 classes of VIPs suddenly, all with their own laminate badges. And every one of the laminate badges afforded access to a wide space, or increasingly very much smaller spaces within spaces within spaces. These divisions of the VIP space, which was huge. I mean, the number of VIPs, you would assume that everyone that walked into this place suddenly is a VIP, but the boundaries were very closely observed. Invisible walls that were patrolled, of course, by large men with walkie-talkies and all these sorts of things. And you could be standing on one side or the other of this very large gentleman, and the boundaries were observed, and there was this bizarre longing as you looked from one space into the next, saying, what's going on in there? It's going to be interesting to see where the elites go soon. There's no more room, in a sense, unless they draw a square box in the ground with chalk and stand within it and say, this is my space. There's really nowhere left to go.
I was dancing when I was 12. I was dancing when I was 12. I was dancing when I was out. I was dancing when I was out. dance myself right out the womb.
I'm not a professional goer. I was not in Paris is Burning. I do not stand here and call myself a legendary voguer, no. Why? Because what I do is very different. I drink, I suck, I drink, I suck, I drink, I suck. And when they come out with that documentary, baby, you all will know the secret to live.
Thank you, Veronica. It is my deep and great pleasure tonight to welcome at this late hour for all of you night birds, the one, the only, the super legendary Monsieur Willie Ninja. I was dancing when I was 8. I was dancing when I was 8. Is it strange to dance so late? Is it strange to dance so late? I dance myself into the tune. I dance myself into the tune. Is it strange to dance so soon? I dance myself into the tune. Is it wrong to understand the fear that dwells inside a man? What's it like to be alone? I liken it to a balloon. I dance myself out of the womb. I dance myself out of the womb. Is it strange to dance so soon? I dance myself into the tune. And then again once more, I dance myself out of the room. I dance myself out of the room. Is it strange to dance?
In the fashion industry, not just working with the top models, but I actually got to do a fashion show in Paris for Terry Mugler, walked the runway with the diva of all divas, Iman. So that was one dream that came true. Working with 3 different ballet companies in Europe and 1 here, choreographing with Carol Armitage, and getting Vogue and ballet combined, performing for the royal family of Spain, working with different recording artists, like the group Delight, that I know you'll know, Queen Latifah, La India, who's the dance music artist, but also the Princess of Salsa, which that's why I was late, because I was doing a show with her. So yeah, I mean, I'm in the 4 areas, and each one has been special to me because it's people I love to work with. I don't care who you are. You can have the name from hell. If I don't like you, it ain't happening. I'm not kissing nobody's butt, never have, never will. I enjoy music. I enjoy the nightlife. Of course, at my age now, we don't enjoy it as much. And I'm a happy person. I mean, I filled up my passport 3 times just doing this. So, and working with everybody in the industry, from fashion to entertainment to the arts to dance. So I'm very happy. But for the longest time, I wasn't in a band.
Justine is a total music singer.
But anyway, getting back to Justine, she's just come a really long way, and just a really hard worker. Motherfucker really is, it means a lot to her, and she is she does a lot for the party.
I really like working with Justine, that as DJs, we connected in a way that I had never connected with anyone on that level.
Justine has excellent taste. She's very current. You know, she's got her ear to the pavement, and she's has a huge say in the bands that have been booked. She's booked almost all of them, and she's done a great job. And she's a consummate professional.
Probably due to her age, sometimes Justine can be a little just adolescent-like.
I told Michael that I was taking you here to Chinatown. He's like, oh, God.
What's that supposed to mean?
You know, he's just like, why don't you just pigeonhole yourself?
Chinatown, Monroe Street, which no one knows where that is, but it's right near the water, near the New York Post building, across the street from Smith Housing Projects. That's what I like to say. I think in my mid-20s, when I was 24 or 25, I tried to deny the fact that I was a full-time promoter and DJ. I was DJing over at a place called Sway, which is like a coke den, or it was back then. I don't know if it still is, but like everyone was on drugs except for me, and we even had an in-house coke dealer. But and I went there to spin on a Monday night because I did the Rock and Roll Mondays, and I just kind of remembered saying to myself, like, this is, I don't belong here anymore. What I'm doing with my life is, like, it has no meaning. So, you know, you start to reevaluate what you do, and, you know, like, I basically throw a good time for people on drugs and who are drinking, and that's how I saw it. What I do has no real meaning. And Michael T. picked up on that. And he said to me, he's like, listen, this is what you do. And it may not be forever, but this is who you are now. And so you should do it to its fullest extent and have fun with it, because it could be gone tomorrow or then in a year or so. So he really helped me, I think, come to terms with what I did and what I was perceived as. I used to be such an optimist at the beginning of Motherfucker, and you know, I think we started to have some inner turmoil for like this, maybe during the second or third year, and we would have talks about it, like what or how we all need to change, how as four partners really need to change. And I used to think that yes, people can change, it's possible. And Michael said to me, he's like, Justine, people cannot change. I think you're very young, and I think that you're a little too optimistic, but I don't think it's possible. And I didn't believe him when he said that to me about 2.5, 3 years ago, but now I believe him.
Which Seth has never banned. Primal Scream.
It's good.
It's the whole... Oh, yeah. Susie. Well, of course we love Susie.
Of course we do.
What's Susie?
I feel very strongly about the fact that Justine and Michael represent something different, because they do it with style, and that's something that the rest of these clowns don't understand.
I think that, you know, Justine and Michael have their work cut out for them in the main floor, and you know, I felt that as well when I would DJ with them on the main floor. Every song choice you make has to be perfect.
They're like what I was calling this group of people, including myself, selectors. You know, like DJs that select good music and can continue a flow of music, whether it's hip hop to rock or indie rock to electro, whatever it is.
It's a great experience, but it's very stressful. It's just, there's a lot of pressure. You feel the pressure. I think a lot of that pressure comes from that whole idea of that whole New York thing. Like, this is New York. This is the biggest party in New York City.
I mean, that's kind of like always my goal is, you know, if they're still having a good time, then they'll keep going. And that's like the hard part, is to judge. I mean, you can just clear the dance floor, which I've been good at recently, and or it can like be really fun. And I mean, it's always, you know, I think with the DJ, that's kind of your job, is to, you know, keep people out there, but with still playing really good music for them.
That's something that I've always felt was on point with Motherfucker. Because I've never felt myself thinking, wow, this is really pedestrian.
I think the new generation of club kids are finally starting to lighten up and give into this old school club style of camp, of humor. You know, you can have the sincere Smiths and Cure tracks, but at the same time, the very next track, you can definitely give into the Donna Summers.
Good music is good music, regardless of the genre. A great song is a great song, regardless of the genre to me.
I love the guy. He's a friend, but I blame Steve Aoki for this absolute rampage of bad taste that's gone through the DJ world. You know, he shows up to these parties as Kid Millionaire from LA. That's not entertainment to me. Like, at that point, I feel like I'm being had. Like, I feel like the joke's on me.
I'd rather hear someone that's not technically an amazing DJ play a great selection of music and I'm having a great time at a club than hear this technically perfect DJ play monotonous music all night long and have no atmosphere, no direction, and no depth.
Hey, let's get the guy from the Ramones to play records. If there's ever a forum where where you would think that would work, it would be Motherfucker. But not if you really think about it, because if you really think about it, you would know that that's not what they're about. And if you paid attention while you've been at any of their parties, you know that that's not what it is.
It's a really worrying trend. I mean, especially for people like us that have invested our whole lives in, you know, buying music, kind of hoping that we know how to put music together to get people to dance. And for people to be more interested in how we looked and who we are, what film we'd made, what magazine, who we'd slept with, rather than our knowledge and love and history of music is scary.
I don't think an all music party, like people that are like, I'm just really into rare records, those are not good parties. Those are club meetings. Those are boring. And I think like I'm having a party and Lindsay Lohan is playing is not a very interesting party, most likely either. It becomes a bit LA. But somewhere in the middle is where it's interesting. And if you have a strong enough party, if you have a strong enough group of friends, if you have a strong enough thing going on, then you can intimidate famous people, and that's interesting.
The obsession with fame and celebrity. Personally, it's something that sickens me, but if people get into that, that's fine. As for people DJing simply because of who they are, I mean, I personally find it disgusting.
I think DJs in general take the culture too seriously, and they take, you know, the crafts too seriously. We're not Q*berts. We're not Scratch Pickles. We're not, that's to me a craft. Like that is the, you know, turntablism. That is like DJs to me, you know, and we're not. I mean, we just play records, no matter what. At the end of the day, no matter if we're beat matching or not, or we're technically flawless, or we blend amazingly, we're just playing other people's music, and that's what it's about.
That's one of the things that's most important about New York City, is that there's room for everybody. So you can have generations of imitators, and there's plenty of room for them, there's plenty of clubs for them to play, and there's plenty of clueless people who just moved to New York, who don't know any better, who will go see them. But there's also room for the auteurs, and there's room for the people that really matter.
Well, I think that, you know, Michael, his mother, he's certainly probably the most recognizable face out of everybody.
Michael is passionate, and he's humorous and campy and twisted and very intelligent. He's probably one of the smartest people that I've ever met. And
Michael is the mother, you know, he put it together. Michael is probably the only one who really gets sort of veto power. We usually agree on things, but Michael can definitely be obstinate, I would say, would be a nice way of putting it.
He's definitely the mother of the pack. He's the mother of Motherfucker.
yeah, he's my mom. How fucked up is that, huh? He's my mom.
Just gonna take a moment here. I don't know who the blonde cunt was on the runway, but bitch, this ain't your fucking show. And believe you me, I have no trouble kicking your skanky ass out once I could see you. Honey, clearly you don't know all about Mother.
What are you preparing for tonight, Michael?
Show at Rated X. We do our prom theme party every year at Rated X on Gay Pride Weekend, and we have a different theme every year, and this year's theme is sci-fi. There's still a stigma about being gay. It's insane, but people still have a problem with that, either accepting it as that's who they are, or part of who they are, or being around gay people, or acknowledging gay people or culture. It's, you know, it's retarded. I don't get it. It's this alien to me to think that that is still an issue.
Mother, you've done it again. Mother strikes again. And again and again and again.
Now putting these things on, it's like, what fucking foot is what? I think there's always something very special when, or at least hopefully special when you capture somebody right then and there in their environment as their alter ego, and just at that moment. And those moments can't be recreated for better or worse. Do I look like a Martian?
Yeah, some kind of planet. This is so funny.
Okay, we're going to Luke and Leroy's on 7th Avenue South and Leroy Street, please. Oh, great. I'm going to miss this slide because of this stupid fucking cunt from New Jersey.
Shit! T!
Yeah, you're right!
It's a crazy city. Get the picture. Yeah. Walk a tightrope. Such a bright light. What's your number? Take a powder. Have you a future? Yeah.
Give it up for your intergalactic entertainer, the one, the only Mother Shit. Change ball, and it is changing everyone's sex as we speak. Michael, Mothership T, is there anything you'd like to say?
Welcome to Earth.
Rated X has been going for almost 3 years.
Michael T's affiliation with it definitely helped it along. Some people say it's like a mini motherfucker, which is not necessarily intentional, you know what I mean? But I'm sure, yeah, I'm sure that motherfucker helped our party. You know, sometimes when we have a rated X and then motherfuckers the next night, we're kind of like, oh, is it gonna be okay? When something can have the life to have its own following without you, like, after a while having to push it, then it's good, you know, and then you start to really have success.
Oh, mother of pearl, I wouldn't trade you for another girl. Divine intervention.
And there was a party in the earlier 90s that was called Squeezebox. A lot of what we do and a lot of what Motherfucker does, all of that kind of happened there. So that might have been the spring point for all of it, you know? But at the same time, everything sort of becomes its own thing. So I mean, you can't say that one thing birthed everything, but in a way, it's like the natural progression.
Oh, mother of pearl, lustrous lady of a sacred world. Oh, mother of pearl, I wouldn't trade you for another girl. Oh, mother of pearl, I wouldn't trade you for another girl. Oh, mother of pearl, I wouldn't trade you for another girl.
So people have reclaimed motherfucker to mean like empowering. I am a motherfucker. I'm strong. I am woman or I'm man. And I'm going to be who I'm going to be. For example, this beautiful specimen.
Started, it was a small party and everybody involved really wanted it. So I think that was what really made it grow. As we sort of went from space to space and watched it get bigger and bigger and bigger, it sort of became bigger than all of us involved, and it was so crowded and so intense, it lost its intimacy. They come for the party because they've heard about the party, but they don't really know the roots of the party. It started with a bunch of rock and roll freaks that just wanted to have a good time.
People will probably think of me as a smash-up between Oprah and P. Diddy with a splash of RuPaul.
This is a motherfucker.
God, I love the champagne in the green room.
Okay, I got one more question. I mean, just the word itself, motherfucker. It's hardcore. It's intense. There's no fucking around with motherfucker. So I think that it says it before you even get in the door that, you know what? You're either a good motherfucker or you're a bad motherfucker. There's no in-betweens here. And people that come here and are uptight and they may be homophobic or misogynistic, they certainly change their tune within 15 minutes of walking through that door because they see the people in control are the freaks and the weirdos. It's no longer like some corporate bullshit that's telling us what to do. We're doing it our way, the way we want to do it. And you're more than welcome to come and party with us.
Gentlemen, the 4th of July is Independence Day, okay? It's where we celebrate our independence. Now, let me explain something to you. I am definitely not a flag burner. I will not burn a flag unless I'm cold. But I will say, I think it's kind of funny that our leaders want us to get on board for 4th of July and jump up and down for our country. But then when we want equal rights, when we want abortion, morning after pills, gay rights, gay marriage, oh, all of a sudden we're not that big country anymore, are we? No. Oh, no. You cannot pick and choose who lives in this country, bitches. We live here together. Whether you suck dick or eat pussy, honey, I love you no matter what. Okay? And that is what motherfucker is all about. Okay? But don't get into any ideas. You're not gonna suck my dick tonight. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this group came all the way from Sunderland, England. When they first told me their name, I thought they said they wanted to give me head. But they didn't say that at all, ladies and gentlemen. They are the Future Heads!
This is a nightclub, so I expect you to be very loud. The hi-hats, please.
When I was a child, I was afraid of what might be. Hiding in the dark and hiding on the streets, none of what was following me. The hounds are calling. I've always been a coward, and I don't know what's good for me. Well, you're right, go. Don't let me go. Hold me down. It's calling at me through the trees. Help me, someone, help me. Take my shoes off and I will float out in the night, and I will be too skeleton.
We've been in this business now for years. And we've all had our ups and downs.
Oh, look. It's our very first party. Wow.
You never know. You never know what one day is going to lead to the next, in a sense, or what month, or whatever. Obviously, as you get older, you get better if you're able to get through those rough spots. And you know, you try and keep yourself active, but like anything, you also get tired, and there are some people that aren't too crazy about you, either because they have the wrong idea about you, or maybe because, you know, we have all definitely burned some bridges at some point or another. And then there's that young blood. You always have to be aware of what's behind you, not get paranoid about it, but not think that it isn't going to make a difference sooner or later.
The mini-me motherfucker at Niagara.
No, wait. But look at that. Because we had the wrong date. George put the wrong date, so we had to hand Sharpie
5,000.
each flyer. I think I did most of them. Thanks.
Well.
Yeah. Chinese labor.
Chinese hunters, was that true? I finished in 2 hours.
I am definitely, I think, breaking down doors or the myth or whatever of if you're gay and you wear makeup and, you know, finery, that you don't have balls and that you can't stand up for yourself. And I have definitely proven that to be quite a myth, because I am one of the ballsiest people, and I don't back down to people, and I don't mince words. I guess I see myself walking into a board meeting looking like this and not being snickered at or teased. I'm the one that's gonna be in control. Like, I'm not gonna let some fucking shithead think that he has one over on me because he wants to play the game and look like everybody else or whatever. But people are gonna think twice about saying something snide or derogatory towards me, because they're gonna be met with a very harsh response.
The thing about nightlife in this city is there always seems to be operating on different axes. At least that's the way I see it. There's probably the biggest one of all is the gay-straight axis, you know? And I think through the 90s, it got real separated.
And it'd be a bunch of frat boys standing around trying to pick up girls. You go to gay clubs and people were dancing and they were dressed amazing and they were having the time of their lives. So I think it happened to a lot of straight New Yorkers, is you just realize that gay clubs were better than straight clubs. One of the reasons Motherfucker is so much fun and so successful is it is basically a gay club that a lot of straight people go to. And the straight people don't come and act straight. It's a place for straight people to go and be gay.
I think it was the first time some of the people in our band had seen a man dressed as a woman before in person, maybe on television, maybe RuPaul on TV and things like that, or Giuliani even. I think some of them were very excited about it. Excitement doesn't necessarily mean gleeful.
The best experience as a motherfucker, and I hate to liken it to like Studio 54 or any of those things, I don't really remember my best experience as a motherfucker because I had so much fun. A motherfucker was truly, truly, truly an event, and I would go there knowing I was going to be making out with some fine, young piece of ass at the end of that night.
And I'm sure that it's happened more often than not with liquor and drugs and staying up late, that a lot of people who thought they were straight, you know, maybe at 4 or 5 in the morning in a bathroom at Motherfucker, found out that they're not quite as straight as they thought they were.
I've got the sweetest hangover. Sweetest hangover. Yeah. I don't wanna get over.
I was personally, felt personally out of the loop. And that is very rare for my experiences in performance. It's a place ultimately I want to be.
Motherfucker's vision, as best I can tell anyway, is to be true to that which makes New York great. You know, the rock and roll spirit of New York. I mean, rock and roll means many things to many people, but when you think New York, I mean, who are the icons of New York rock? You know, they're Lou Reed, they're David Johansen, they're Debbie Harry, they're, I mean, coming up more recently, the Squeezebox scene and Miss Guy and the Toilet Boys, and I mean, these bands that are true to that spirit of, you know, spirit of punk, a spirit of a bit of glam, spirit of whatever, whether it's new wave, spirit of a bit of androgyny, all these things that, at least to my mind, really define and represent this city and what has always made it special.
A lot of people, you know, they figure, oh, well, if they can fill a venue that can hold 2,000 people or 2,500 people, well, then they're just mainstream, and then they're sellouts.
We didn't think it would grow. It would keep going this long. And we were like, once it starts to peak or die down, then we'll figure out what we do with it. But it's just kept growing and growing and growing.
I mean, occasionally I hear a little whimper maybe from sort of an older group who were around at the beginning that might say like it's too young or too big.
But we never intended for Motherfucker to blow up the way that it has.
The people that come know us. The people know the people that throw the party, and they know that we're the real deal. We're not some wannabes or whatever. And that's got to show. And I think it does, otherwise they wouldn't be coming.
And we've all decided that this party is the four of us forever, and it'll never be anything else. And if anyone ever decides they don't want to do it anymore, we'll just drop the party. That's the end of the story.
I feel like we need counseling, like group counseling or something sometimes. I can see that.
I've learned stuff, and I don't know what I've learned, because it's all a learning. Like, simultaneously, while this is happening, you know, I have a new child, I'm opening a new business, so there's a lot of things happening, and I'm hopefully changing and improving,
And
you know.
for the sake of the party, I'd like to get along with Johnny a bit more. Probably not.
We've had a lot of rocky moments. One thing that happens in our MOFO family, which I think happens, I mean, I experienced it, there's 5 kids in my family, when like one person's out of the mix or something's wrong, like, I think we all kind of compensate or something. So Justine and I have been like the enemies, and maybe we're talking to Michael and Georgie about it separately or whatever, you know, like, there's different problems with different people at different times, and I think that we all still try to handle that. Like we still know we're in a relationship, you know. We don't always love each other on certain points or certain things, but we talk about it.
I feel very empowered at the end of that song, and I feel like, wow, we made it through another night, through all the ups and downs, through the crazy lines, through the, you know, asshole security that we had to deal with. You know, bad weather, you know, even getting shut down and moving the party. But as long as that song is played at the end of the night, that means that we did it.
It's an occupational hazard in this business, and sometimes an occupational bonus, to be a dick. I don't want fame. What I do want is respect from my peers in what I do, and I like to make a living.
I make my livelihood in a different manner than what is considered normal or what is the majority. I'm not committing a crime, however, it seems that everyone these days especially views nightlife as this, you know, like we're criminals.
The word motherfucker isn't, like, to me and to people that I know, it's like nothing. But one of the problems that we've encountered as time went on is that a lot of people are freaked out by that. It was an appropriate name for us, looking back on it.
Sometimes I feel like we're gonna sabotage our own success. But that's not that tragic, I guess, maybe.
What's the tragic element of Motherfucker?
That you guys probably don't know about yet is that we're going to implode, probably.
It is a party after all. You know, it is just a party. And it was a great party, so, you know, mission accomplished.